I've had a checkered history with Metroid. The adventures of Samus Aran have been deeply ingrained into my memory, or more accurately, a very small amount of them, like a few hours each. This is a franchise about getting lost, navigating through these labyrinths and barely making it out alive, but you see, as a kid, I'd walk around, get lost, die, and whip my controller into space, hoping somehow I could smash into Samus' ship and cast her spiraling down the vacuum of space like Darth Vader that one time. Yeah, these games angered me, because I so desperately wanted to try and like them, but something always held me back. Until one day I played a little game called Super Metroid. I wasn't so into the series, but I thought, hey, I'll give it another shot. And boy, was I an idiot. This game had action, mystique. It was chilling, scary, but peaceful. It had class. There was something about it that always kept you persevering no matter the challenge. I could finally see the fun in collecting items, exploring this hostile planet, fighting disgusting-ass creatures like that guy. I mean, come on, it's a gross-looking dude. And it's all neatly wrapped into this perfectly made package, keeping you on your toes until that heartbreaking but satisfying conclusion. This game defined a whole generation of games, and even among the countless titles and series it's inspired, it is arguably at the peak of its genre. And when I finally made it to the end and saw that 100% screen, I remember thinking to myself, what did I ever have against this series? Metroid Other M, the most vile, unforgivable, unacceptable entry in the franchise, hated by the entire known universe. This was my first Metroid game. Yeah, I hated this game so much that I traded it to some kid I barely knew for his copy of Mario Strikers Charged, just to pass my suffering on to someone else. Really upsold the fun of two perspectives. I still think of him from time to time, and hope he wasn't permanently damaged by my wrongdoing. But I mean, Mario Strikers was fun as shit, come on! But you know what? I've had a few years under my belt, I've earned my gaming stars and stripes since the Wii Waggle days, and I think it's time to finally finish what I started all those years ago. Welcome to the Void, and this is why no one cares about Metroid Other M. Released in 2010, Metroid Other M was meant to serve as a sort of soft reboot to the franchise. The Prime Games had just finished their trilogy on the Wii in 2007, and we hadn't seen a proper 2D entry since Metroid Fusion all the way back in 2002. I think it's important to talk about these specific points in the timeline because Other M was placed in this odd area of, well, not acknowledging any of these titles. Like at all. Yoshio Sakamoto, director of the Metroid games, created Other M as this blank slate for the series, and brought in Team Ninja of Ninja Gaiden fame to create a fast-paced, third-person action game, a direction of the series we'd never seen before. But he also seemed determined to actively erase or overwrite the events of previous titles, specifically the Prime games. Instead of taking place after Fusion, Other M was created as the new, direct sequel to Super Metroid. Yikes. But before I tear this game down to its very atomic structure, let's talk about what I liked. Samus looks incredible in this game. Her design from Super Metroid is almost perfectly translated to a more realistic look, and it was good enough to get reused in Smash a couple times, so there you go, it's pretty good. The bottle ship was also an interesting idea for the series. It's like this top-secret vessel that simulates certain environments to create bioweapons cloned from Samus' longtime enemies, the space pirates. Sounds kinda cool. Like a sort of sci-fi horror concept, but it could have been executed a little better. The music doesn't stand out, or most environments, or the atmosphere. What? I'm supposed to be positive? What? Oh, yeah, well, you know. Jumping feels good! 3D is a difficult place to translate a 2D series, and when the Prime games were made, it was impossible to smoothly recreate Samus' 2D movements, specifically the space jump and the shine spark. But in Other M, running speed's decent, and it feels pretty good to jump around. And, yeah. That's about it. When you start the game, you're treated to a classic, and by classic I mean completely boring and intuitive eye-rolling tutorial. It teaches you all the ropes on your brand new method of controlling Samus,
the sideways Wii remote.
It's all coming back, I hate you! It's all coming back, you understand? I don't like it! I don't like to think about it! It's
sideways Wii remote.
Something about the Wii era that I remember painfully was the lack of control options by the latter half of its life. The controller was basically split into two modes of play, Wii Remote and Nunchuck for 3D, and Sideways for 2D. 2D? 3D? 2D? 3D? 2D? 3D. The Sideways Wii Remote was a novel way to control 2D games because it made people think about this controller. The good old NES, classic nostalgia bait. But even then, it was weird to see a modern controller with less action buttons than the friggin' SNES back in '91. So tell me why, in your 3D game, with a seemingly intense combat system, where movement is crucial to deciding life and death, you decided to give me 3 buttons and a D-pad. And there's no other options. Nunchucks? Nope. Classic controller? Nope. Freaking GameCube controller? What are you, stupid? One control scheme, one way to play, and it's god-awful. And the only reason the game passionately sticks to the scheme is because it wants you to constantly switch between two perspectives by flipping the Wii Remote. With Team Ninja leading development behind Other M, you'd expect the game to play something like this. Fast-paced, breakneck action with a plethora of moves. And you can see hints of that with Other M. Samus moves around with a good speed, she can quickly dodge attacks and retaliate, and this is all a little fun until you change perspectives. The game is so obsessed with flipping the Wii Remote, and that's fine when you're looking around for clues or scanning shit, but when I'm in an intensely fast and tough fight with an enemy, the last thing I want to do is completely stop all movement and point the Wii Remote to shoot a missile. The amount of times I got punished for following the game's rules was frustratingly high. Not only is using the pointer just slow and boring, my cursor would always show up in the corner of the screen, so I'd have to drag the cursor down on the monster, lock out, and oh, I'm hit. Alright, just let me try. Yep, okay, yeah. Yep, and I'm dead. Now this is fun. The battle system is so half-baked, and bad, and horrible, and really bad. But I mean, come on, it's not like half the game is just fighting enemies, right? It's a Metroid game. It's about finding items, navigating your own way through isolating areas, right? You don't just fight enemies the whole time, right? I had to stop and think about why this game exists. Like 4 times at least. It's a lot of times. It's a short game. As the new direct sequel to Super Metroid, the game's story basically piggybacks off the strength of the 1994 classic. We see the final boss fight with Mother Brain, beautifully recreated with pre-rendered cutscenes, with one crucial difference.
Why am I still alive?
Samus talks. Like a lot. Silent protagonists are a staple in video games. They're someone who doesn't have to be relatable or show much personality because you can put yourself into their shoes. Their actions are what define them, and their actions just so happen to be your actions. Creating an entirely new personality for someone who's been a silent badass for about 24 years is pretty polarizing. The opening cutscenes are Samus monologuing and monologuing. This game really force feeds everything about Samus's past to the point where I couldn't care less.
Ah, fancy meeting you here, princess.
Remember me?
The two characters besides Samus with the most importance are Anthony,
Remember me?
and Adam.
Any objections, lady?
And it feels weird to call them important because I hate, like, every character in this game. Besides Maurice. He's pretty cool. Oh, never mind, he's dead. The English voice acting in this game makes my brain implode with cringe. It's bad. You could probably have a better time playing this game in anything but English.
Haha! 妙なところで会っちまったな、プリンセス。俺だよ。
But if you're a Metroid fan, you probably have a lot to say about the infamous Adam Malkovich. This is a character with a lot of vague history in the games, but here he finally appears and he's just so unlikable. But you know what, that's besides the point. He'd be a lot more tolerable if his condescending nature didn't seep into the gameplay. Because this time around, instead of collecting items, you have to wait until these items are authorized by Adam.
Samus, looks like I'm gonna need to ask for your cooperation on this mission. But I'm also gonna have to ask that you follow my commands. You don't move unless I say so, and you don't fire until I say so.
So yes, according to the game, you could use your entire arsenal, but shouldn't because Atom doesn't want you to. Everyone knows what a Metroidvania is. It's about exploring gigantic mazes, solving puzzles, fighting monsters, and collecting items. So whenever I think Metroid, that's what comes to mind. When you take something that's the core of the franchise and make it completely irrelevant because of some random ass dude, people are going to be upset. The Metroid games used to take some criticism for coming up with new ways for Samus to lose all her power-ups so she could find new ones through another game. And in that respect, I could see why they did this, but authorization gives you no reason to explore, like at all. When you know you have to find an important item, you scour the map and find a bunch of little items along the way. So whenever you find a secret, it's rewarding your exploration. Metroid started becoming a little linear by the time Fusion was released, but in Other M, you just follow objectives and wait for the important things to be given to you. There's no wiggle room. My first playthrough of this game ended somewhere around 25%. 25%. Compared to other Metroid games where I reach at least 60% during the first playthrough, this shows just how much of the game is neglected by making exploration non-existent. Not only does this move hurt the gameplay in general, it also does a pretty good job of making Samus look weak and helpless. The most badass woman in gaming has to wait for some dude to tell her what to do. It's not a good look. The notorious character assassination of Samus Aran is on full display. This is someone who's fought a giant space dragon who killed her parents like at least 3 times. Like at least. Now she cowers at the sight of him because her childhood was so sad or something. Now imagine you're playing Super Metroid, a good video game. You're completely alone, the haunting music and hostile creatures are the only thing keeping you company. You find this
In one corner was the miserable form of a researcher's corpse.
You're afraid of...
This victim hadn't sustained the same injuries. The
There
dead
could
I'd
be a
seen
monster
had been
just...
torn apart by something large. And as I said,
The gameplay is completely objective based, like I said. Adam does all the thinking for you, tells you where to go, when to fight, who to fight, and that would be fine if the game itself didn't feel so boring. Felt like all the game had to offer was room after room of cannon fodder enemies padded out by boss battles and cutscenes. And when the game is that focused on combat, it's kind of baffling. Because Samus has like 3 moves. You shoot, dodge, shoot a missile. Mashing dodge will save you in 90% of all situations, and oh, that one finisher I said was kind of cool. Well, its coolness slowly vanishes over the 7,000 times you use it. There's no variety in how you fight, and it's weird because the combat feels like it should play in the same vein of something like Devil May Cry, just fast and intense, you know. Oddly enough, this game feels like a mashup of conflicting design choices. You have the fast, weak combat, the non-existent exploration, and the hints of a third-person survival horror game. It's like a Frankenstein of indecision. It makes you wonder what the game could have been if it stuck to a clear direction. When the game tries to act like this chilling horror game, I get frustrated, because that's not what it is at all. At random points, the game adopts this semi-Resident Evil Dead Space style for literally no reason other than to walk slower. That's all it added. No option to run, all it did was make getting to objectives slower. That's it. And whenever I was treated to this camera angle, it made me wish Capcom developed this game and just went full-on Resident Evil on everybody. There's this chunk of the game where you track this dumb-looking monster with absolutely no personality, and it made me wish there was a thread in this game that tracked you, like Nemesis or Mr. X. At least Dread introduced the Emmys because it's a concept that just fits the series so well. But there's so many ways this game completely fails in execution that it just feels redundant listing them all. So let's finish what we started and talk about the end of the game, with a 20-minute exposition dump! More like 2 minutes, but you know, Other M's like the master of useless expedition... Expedition? There's this scientist you meet around the halfway point of the game, Madeline Bergman, who's totally not evil, trust me. She tells you there's a spy in your squad, it sounds kind of cool, but he dies, so whatever. So blah blah blah, fight Ridley, blah blah blah, Anthony dies, won't remember you, bye. Adam's gone, so whatever, but then the Metroids, and he's not gone. He shoots you in the back because he's going to save the galaxy. And no, he still doesn't trust you to get the job done. He's just going to die instead. He would rather die than trust you. Deal with it. Ridley needs some water, but you find another scientist, but Queen Metroid can kill that. But wait, she's Madeline Bergman? Then who was... Oh, evil, okay. MB, Mother Brain. That's a twist! So you should feel bad because she's a robot and scientists were mean to her, so she kills everybody. Now the rest of the space military shows up, but she controls monsters, so fight off the monsters, she dies, the end. I'm just glad Anthony's dead. Oh, goddammit! And there you go. That's Metroid Other M. A game that fails not only as Metroid title, but as a game, in every sense of the word, it doesn't stand out as anything more than confused, bland, and you know what? Soulless. I would say this game is colder than the ice beam, but Adam hasn't authorized its usage yet. Definitely not the worst game I've played, but Other M feels like it could have been so much more. With the proper direction, style, controller, story, character, setting, combat system, progression, and everything, this game could have been great. For all you Other M lovers out there, which amounts to yep, nobody, some of the boss battles were kind of cool. I liked using the grappling hook to pull this lava dude from lava, and the green goop guy had this gravity mechanic that was alright. Oh, and there's a true final boss in the post-game, the Phantoon from Super Metroid. It's kind of cool. These bosses were what made me the most engaged when I was playing this special game. But you know what? I think I'm just going to take this game and throw it deep down into the depths of my repressed memory. Yeah, never to be recalled or recollected, thought of, reminisced about, looked back on. Just something I don't think I'll ever
Remember me?